Welcome, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, and for those of you who are staying up late for us today, very good evening. I'm Ed Winder. I run professional services for Dimension Data out of the data center practice based out of Singapore. And today I have two of my colleagues from very far away places. With me today I have Peter Humes, our business technical lead based out of the UK, and principal consultant Ryan Levy from the West Coast in the United States. Well, today we brought the team together to have a session about the world of the next generation data center. And I think the next generation data center that's evolved today, right? It's not just part of the virtual cloud infrastructure, but also part of the evolution and convergence and how everything in data center is interconnected, and it's becoming more so every day. We've seen a lot of consolidation over the past 5-8 years in the market, and especially on the compute side of the world. But today, virtualization has extended into more areas around storage, networks, and what's becoming of the industry is moving into hyper-converged, converged systems. In essence, I think converged systems was created out of the need to simplify infrastructure complexity, reducing capex, and what I call consolidation 2.0. Or to put it more simply, I think it sounds like consolidation is yesterday's news and converge is the new theme. What I'm seeing is that everything in the data center is pretty much connected, but what matters most are the touch points that make or break the infrastructure. The question is, how does this impact IT operations, right? And convergence has done one good thing in terms of breaking down the silos and flatten down data center architectures where hardware, including storage, compute, network, are abstracted from controllers, racks, and cabling. But one thing it hasn't really changed is it hasn't really broken down the operational silos. In this part of the world, I've noticed a trend where it's accelerating at a pace where IT operations are trying to keep up with this advancement in technologies, or rather, they're leaving others to worry about this for them as they become more outcome-based focused. IT operations are being outsourced, so to speak, and IT managers are becoming IT service brokers. I think this is something that we predicted a while back when cloud was in its infancy, right? But I think the bigger question is, where does this leave us now? I see some of our clients not only wanting to let go of IT complexity, but at the same time concerned about the technology stack that outsourcers are offering, which means at the end of the day, they actually do care about what they're getting into and closely sticking to proven technologies. Not so sure. Ryan, what do you see in the US market? Are there similar trends, and whether you're seeing client, what are they doing in this space or area, or are there any best practices that you hear some of our clients asking from us?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Ed. You know, a couple of things, and I think it's really interesting the way the market is trending. Quite some time ago, we started talking about this whole concept of next generation data center, what it actually means, what it meant to certain people, and it kind of became a similar conversation around the emergence of cloud. You know, cloud being ask 10 people in a room, what does cloud mean, and 10 people give you 10 different answers. And what I'm finding now, especially here on the west coast of the US and actually across the US in its entirety, is that people are slowly starting to really grasp the concept that next-gen data center is not just an item, it's not just a product, it's not something you just order or you can physically see. It's actually a real interesting journey. And you touched on some key points here. You spoke about the operational side, the management side, from a technology perspective, the convergence, this interconnected data center model per se. And the conversations that we're having with clients, some key clients that we have here across multiple verticals, not just manufacturing, not just technology. In fact, what I'm seeing, the big trend being pushed around is actually in the pharmaceutical and the medical or healthcare space, is that we're seeing clients really driving towards a far more efficient operational management and managed capabilities model that encompasses a large number of technologies or models. We talk about consumption type models, We talk about different types of services models. And one of the biggest driving factors that I'm seeing behind this, and real common to most of the clients that I'm talking to, is how are they looking at maintaining, operating, and supporting their workloads and their actual data as they move forward. Because it's no longer a concept of here's some technology, we've deployed this, as traditionally IT would, and let's see what we're going to do from a workload perspective or what kind of services we can serve out. It's now really being workload and services driven. The concept of different ways for providing services out to our clients, end users, either being their internal or external clients, and how they go about that. So a big focus for us is around workload decision criteria or workload decision matrix, different platforms for different services, whether it be on-prem, off-prem, a hybrid type of model, this interconnected model that we talk about. And again, and I really want to emphasize this, a large focus around the operational and management side of the house, because as we go down this next generation data center journey, we're substantially changing the way that IT acts as a service broker or as a service unit back to the business.
Okay. Any specific challenges around the people and the way that they run operations? I mean, like I was saying, I see a lot of folks here trying to step up to look at. I don't want to manage the day-to-day stuff on the ground. Do you see that happening as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the old days of providing an IT service center internally to an organization, which then supports everything end to end. We're talking about from the deployment of the technology to the deployment of the workloads, to the support of the workloads, to the ongoing maintenance, the ongoing support. That's changing. It's not happening overnight. It's absolutely not the flick of a switch. What we're seeing a lot of, and a lot of the requirements from us as an organization and as a partner to our clients, is the help me button. The can you provide a more efficient service back to us or augment the services that we have today, so we can either focus on, and when I say we, I'm talking about our clients, can focus on their traditional services or hand off those traditional services to us and let them focus on the more strategic type projects or engagements that they have internally. So yeah, I mean we talk about that in two models: managed services, a support model where we can hand over or take on some of the workload support or some of the infrastructure support, and then I see a lot of the full outsource type models. The real, I as an organization don't want to go after this anymore. I want to worry about what's important to my business, the ongoing maintenance and management and control of the services I'm not interested in anymore. So okay.
Yes. Peter, what about in where you are in Europe specific or in UK? Do you see the same trends that we're seeing here in this part of the world and even in the US?
Yeah, very much so, Ed. I think what we're seeing is a move away from people seeing information technology as a practice in its own right that's run within a business, and seeing it now as a business technology. It's actually enabling the support of the whole business operation. So I think people are starting to realize that it's not just about having the right technologies in place. As Ryan was saying, you've got to have components of different technologies. If it's working out how your business strategy works, what your business needs technology-wise to support that, and then also finding the right organizational models for the business, because in some places we're finding that the way in which companies are doing business is fundamentally changing because of the technology, because they're moving things out to the cloud, because they're having a more mobile workforce that's traveling around. It's not necessarily based in the same offices. It's fundamentally changing the way the organizations are set up, and it's also changing the operational processes that they're using. So it's not just a technology change. It's very much an integrated change within the entire organization. One of the things we're finding a lot of interest in Europe is helping organisations look at how do we decide what's the right model for us, because even within a vertical, and Ryan's already alluded to the fact that verticals are different, but even within the same vertical, we find that different companies may have a different ideal state where they may deliver some services internally. They may want to keep some services internal because those services are what they perceive as being the differentiator or their value add in the market. Other services they're happy to outsource either as a managed service to let somebody else run for them, or as a complete ITO to have them provided back from a third party, and even the use of true software or platform as a service from a cloud. But getting that balance right for an individual organization is very difficult to judge. It's helping work out what is your true business differentiator, what is your real value add that makes you different in your own market, and then how do you apply the right business technologies with the right processes, with the right organizational models to deliver back to that word, services to the client.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I think you mentioned about what do they keep and what do they let go of. Do you see a lot of that letting go, not just to outsourcers, but also to the cloud, but still managing it on their own? Is that something that's happening a lot more, or it's still moving along at a slower pace?
I think it's something that we've seen quite a lot of, and I think the pace of adoption is accelerating. Very much, I mean, especially in the software as a service places, people are getting to the point where they don't even think about the services being provided as software or provided as a cloud. It's just something that exists. I mean, a classic example, almost nobody now considers putting a CRM system in place. Everybody just goes and uses Salesforce or something like that. HR systems, a lot of companies now using expense systems online, and they don't even perceive those as being cloud services, although they truly are. They're just seen as, well, that's the way we do it. And I think that's the shift. We're moving away from, we have to have an IT department, and we have a bunch of guys sitting down in the basement at desks running an IT department, because that's the way we've always done it. People are now saying, well, what is the optimum way of providing this? And we're starting to reach a tipping point where people are happy to consider new ways of delivering those operational models. So, I very much think that the change we're seeing is that people no longer see it as being driven by the technology. They see the technology as just being a component of how do I best deliver this service for the business.
Yeah, okay. Makes sense. I think you hit the right spot. I think that's what I'm seeing here over in Asia as well. Certain things are de facto going out into the cloud where everyone's not even thinking twice about whether that's the cloud or not. And I think, Ryan, do you see that happening as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things, as I mentioned earlier, when we talk about the workload decision criteria or workload decision matrix, it's no longer a concept of what kind of technology are we going to deploy internally to support this. It's now what platforms are we looking at to deliver the service back to us, whether that be a software as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service. It doesn't actually matter. The reality is that internal infrastructure is now no longer the first choice. It's actually further down the stack. And that's because of the efficiencies and the comfort both from a performance, a capability, and even a security perspective that clients in this region are seeing when we move to traditional cloud services. So yes, absolutely, that's what we're seeing here.
Okay.
And one thing I will add to that is, again, and Pete touched on that too, is that it actually doesn't matter which vertical we're talking about. We're seeing this across the board.
Right. Peter, are you able to share anything that we specifically did for a client when we took them onto a journey and some of the specific outcomes that may have changed the way that they think and the way that they actually deploy or the way that they consume IT today?
Yeah, so we've got one client that we've been working with in the UK specifically. It's a very large service provider within its own industry. I'm not going to name them, but they came to us with this problem where fundamentally they had IT infrastructure, very much a traditional organization, very much a traditional in-house IT infrastructure that was getting quite old, getting beyond its end of life. They took on a new CIO, and he kind of realized that he was at a point where he could make a decision. He could refresh the infrastructure, carry on delivering the services the way he always had. And he actually came to us and asked for consultancy and advice on what is the art of the possible. So we spent a fair amount of time with him, because what we discovered was that you can't take a business which is working in a particular way. It's in if you use the bimodal logic, if you're completely in mode 1, you can't go home on a Friday night running in mode 1, have the weekend off, and come back on Monday morning running in mode 2. Life's not like that, because you've got to carry on. You've got to carry on with all your operational processes and things in the way that you traditionally have. So what we did with them is build a program which says, fundamentally, what we've said is we'll basically do an ITO of the current estate, to keep that running, to keep delivering the services, get his IT people much more involved in this transition, in working out what's right for their business, because obviously I know almost nothing about the specific business that they're in. I can give them advice about the IT and the infrastructure. Their business logic comes from them, and of course their IT guys who've been in that business for a long time actually have a lot of sort of inbuilt knowledge grown within themselves, so they can get on with helping develop that business value within the organization. We're providing them an ITO and some stuff back as managed services while we take them on this transition to what will probably end up being an infrastructure which is a hybrid cloud. So there'll be some stuff that runs in the public, or at least in the I mentioned it, in the enterprise cloud. Some of it we run on a private cloud, but we've sort of got their guys freed up from the day-to-day grind of running the infrastructure by doing that for them and doing that in support of them, provided back as a service, and then got those guys involved in helping the business transition, so they've moved over to being truly contributing back to the business. It's a journey. We're still on the journey, but first signs are good.
All right. Two questions. How long did that journey? I mean, although we were still in that process, right? But how long do you think it eventually is going to take? That's one. And number two, do they really care about the technology that still goes into that stack? Because, like I started earlier, right? They're letting go of stuff, but at the same time, they're still concerned about what others are going to put in. I'm just curious to hear whether we're going along the same.
Yeah, you've hit the nail right on the head there, and what we find is that you start off, particularly with the technologists, they're very focused on, well, which widget are you going to use, and will it be red or will it be green? And it's like, it doesn't matter, guys. What matters is the outcome, and this is what you see. The guys actually pretty quickly pick that up and realize that, well, this stuff that we've been worrying about. Yes, it was important in the mode 1 operation, but now that's kind of it's somebody else's problem. As long as the outcomes are right, and the focus switches onto looking at what the right outcomes are for the business and how those outcomes can be delivered. We even find that we've got guys coming forward with, well, could we do things in this way, and actually contributing in a major way to this journey. Now the question of how long the journey is, we're probably 6 months into a 2.5-3 year program. The issue is, the reason I'm slightly hesitant about it is because it's a transformation. There's two things that can happen. One is, by the time you get to the end of the transformation, the target has changed, because your target for the next 2 years is 2 years farther out. And of course, one thing to remember is technology itself and the business environment in which you operate are not static. So what you can find is you embark on a 2-year journey, and 12 months in, somebody invents a better widget, or the business suddenly decides, well, actually we should be delivering this service in Ulaanbaatar or somewhere like that, and your actual goal can change. So saying exactly where the end point is kind of tough, but it's going to be about a 2-year transition.
All right. Yeah, I think you touched a very important point regarding there is no endpoint. By the time you get somewhere, there's always something new and fancy to go after.
Yep.
Is that what you're seeing as well in the US, Ryan?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm nodding and smiling here because it's pretty much spot on. And I started off by saying, when you asked me what we're seeing here, is that our clients are understanding that the next generation data center is a journey. And it changes. It's a transformational journey that really, really substantially changes over time. You know, you want to talk about timelines. What we're seeing traditionally is we're working with our clients to develop somewhere between a 3 and 5 year strategy. The short term, you can probably, from a technology and business alignment standpoint, you can probably target 12 to 18 months maximum, and then you're going to see this huge change or a new offering come out or new functionality available or a change in the services offerings, whatever else. But yeah, it's, you know, I smile when Pete talks about what he's seeing in the UK, and I'm going to dare say that you're seeing similar in Asia or Singapore, is that it's the business driving these outcomes.
Yeah.
And the last piece, I mean, when I talk to our clients, and when we do that, when we talk to our clients, is don't worry about the technology. Let's understand what you're trying to achieve from a business strategic standpoint. Let's bring the technology in afterwards, because there is a chance that the technology that we would traditionally prescribe today is not sufficient tomorrow. Yeah. And yeah, I'll go back to, and I'll end up by saying it's a journey, and it's important to understand that.
All right. Sounds like it's clear across the board, right? There are a few themes here that's consistent. Everybody's going through that transformation. There's a lot of business alignment that's required.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're working in that generation where the old and the new, they still understand the outcomes, but there's still things that they don't really want to let go. I think that will take some time across the years to get over, right? And I think as new CIOs join the market, and they'll have different ways of thinking because that's the way that they've been brought up. It's seriously going to change the way that even how we provide our services to market, right? And I think that the best part of what we're doing is that fundamentally it's still all technology. It's how we use it and how we so-called put it together in bricks and blocks and getting things running as such. And I see a lot of these services or applications, it's really moving up the stack. And I think a lot of industry folks, right, be it coming from our end as service providers or system integrators, or even the end users, it's really about moving up that stack and leaving infrastructure as you know, that keeps the lights on. Yeah. So yeah, guys, I think thanks for sharing your insights. Anything else to add, Peter?
Yeah, just you know, I think we keep using the word journey, but it is, you know, it's a transformation, and it's a path that you go on with an endpoint that changes. You know, it's not a transition. It's not a from state A to state B. And I think, you know, again, I would echo this bimodal thing that you can't transition from the current state to the future state overnight. I wish you could. It'd make our lives a lot easier sometimes. But you know, the people change, the technology change, the organization has to change, and the processes for delivering services, and to some extent the services that you end up delivering to the market do change as you go along this voyage.
Yeah. Same. I echo your points as well. So maybe we could just open up the questions from the floor if there's any. Do we have any questions out there from the folks? Okay. I think so far looks like we had a good conversation here, and I think we're seeing a lot of similar things across the regions. And I think the key point here is how fast can, because technology is moving very fast. It's us to also ensure that we're always on top and providing, you know, the best advice that we can do out there for our clients. But I think in the meantime, this session is going to be recorded. It's going to be up on our Google Hangout page. And if there's any other questions that any of our audiences that may think of as you hear some of the comments that's coming out of the various regions, both from UK and the US, from Ryan and Pete, just drop us a note. We'll be more than happy to just answer them as best as we can. Right. So thank you very much, everyone, for listening in. Have a good day, evening, and morning over there.
Thank you.
Right.
Thanks, Ed.
Cheers, Ed.